Okay, so welcome back, my fellow space cadets. It's Marjorie and Exotic Livy, and I'm here with Ghostly Draws today.
I'm very much ghostly.
Yes. And we're just going to be talking about creepypastas and listening to creepypasta stories. As I casually just put in different ring light settings. I should have did this beforehand. That's kind of for.
Dude, literally, I have not listened to like any creepypastas in a while.
Right? There we go, that's better. Way better. But, yeah, I need to turn computer volume up. Need to be able to hear ya. So, I have an app that has basically the creepypasta stories on them as well. So, it's technically the original stories instead of ones other people made up. It's how, I've already listened to a few. Sounds pretty accurate. Like the ones with.
I can't tell. I can't believe.
I
said I won't be able to really tell if it's accurate. So.
Yeah. The reason why you could tell it's accurate is like, if it's the Jeff the Killer story, I've heard a YouTube one which was different than this one, which I've heard. This one made his story sound very accurate of how his eyes are naturally white and how, like, his face is just that pale. So, yeah. The story was pretty accurate. Someone else made theirs up for some reason. To me, it didn't sound as accurate. But, you know, it's because it wasn't. So which one you want to hear about? I have The Rake, Jeff the Killer, and Masterpiece. Because I haven't found the other ones I wanted to listen to yet.
I really like Masterpiece.
Right? Same. It's a really good story in, like, detail. I also like this Her story. It's just called Her.
Yeah,
Found it! Don't play it. Let me save it. I said don't play it.
Wait, please. I'm being harassed by YouTube notifications.
Oh, that's tough. So, which one would you like to hear?
Yeah, I like to hear Masterpiece.
I want to listen to The Rake because I've never heard it. I've heard of The Rake, but not like anything like, you know what I'm trying to say.
Like anything remotely related to it?
Yeah, it's like, I keep
I
saying.
should listen to that one because if you haven't heard, I haven't either. Actually,
I've only heard of it due to like seeing pictures of it and also because of playing the game on Roblox. It's basically a tall, slender looking Wolverine. They call it the Rake because it has claws, which is why it's basically the Wolverine, technically.
Yeah, I would like to listen to that. I would listen to it.
Alright, hold on, because Jermaine tried to call me. Alright, so I'm gonna go ahead and play it. I'm gonna just have it near the mic so you can hear it better. Is that cool?
Yeah, that's fine.
Alright.
During the summer of 2003, events in the northeastern United States involving a strange human-like creature sparked brief local media interest. before an apparent blackout was enacted. Little and no information was left intact, as most online and written accounts of the creature were mysteriously destroyed. Primarily focused in rural New York State and once found in Idaho, self-proclaimed witnesses told stories of their encounters with a creature of unknown origin. Emotions ranged from extremely traumatic levels of fright and discomfort to an almost childlike sense of playfulness and curiosity. While their published versions are no longer on record, the memories remained powerful. Several of the involved parties began looking for answers that year. In early 2006, the collaboration had accumulated nearly 24 documents dating between the 12th century and the present day, spanning 4 continents. In almost all cases, the stories were identical. I've been in contact with a member of this group and was able to get some excerpts from the upcoming book.
I'm gonna pause it real quick because, like, its description just reminded me of another story called The Flesh Market. Have you heard of that one? Yes, it was actually, like, an interesting story. I love the Creepypasta story because it's apparently a market that's, like, in a different dimension, and it's technically, like, trades for body parts, and, like, you can't really feel you can't really feel the pain of getting your body parts cut off or nothing like that. But they said if you make a false trade and you get caught, that you get that body part of you cut off. That's basically how it works. You'll have to listen to it to understand it better.
I'll listen to it.
Yes, because it's actually really interesting. It sounds like stuff they already do on, like, the deep web. Except, just with pain, basically. Yeah, I couldn't get that out for some reason.
A suicide note, 1964. As I prepare to take my life, I feel it necessary to assuage any guilt or pain I've introduced through this act. It is not the fault of anyone other than him. For once I awoke and felt his presence, and once I awoke and saw his form, once again I awoke and heard his voice and looked into his eyes. I cannot sleep without fear of what I might next awake to experience. I cannot ever wake. Goodbye. Found in the same wooden box were 2 empty envelopes addressed to William and Rose, and 1 loose personal letter with no envelope. Dearest Lenny, I have prayed for you. He spoke your name. A journal entry translated from Spanish, 1880. I've experienced the greatest terror. I've experienced the greatest terror. I've experienced the greatest terror. I see his eyes when I close mine. They are hollow, black. They saw me and pierced me. His wet hand, I will not sleep. His voice. The rest of the text is unintelligible. A mariner's log, 1691. He came to me in my sleep. From the foot of my bed, I felt a sensation. He took everything. We must return to England. We should not return here again, at the request of the rake. From a witness, 2006. 3 years ago, I had just returned from a trip from Niagara Falls with my family for the 4th of July. We were all very exhausted after a long day of driving, so my husband and I put the kids right to bed and called it a night. At about 4 a.m, I woke up thinking my husband had got up to use the restroom. I used the moment to steal back the sheets, only to wake him in the process. I apologised and told him I thought he got out of bed. When he turned his face to me, he gasped and pulled his feet up from the end of the bed so quickly, his knee almost knocked me out of the bed. He grabbed me and said nothing. After adjusting to the dark for half a second,
I remember this. I seen a video animation did by Snarled to this segment of the story. I remember that.
question. I don't remember it because it sounds like kind of familiar, but not really.
It's cause like I know for a fact one of the anim huh, horror animation creators, they got the rake mixed up with SCP-096 because for some reason they had it in the story SCP-096 just randomly killed someone for the fun of it and not due to the fact that they seen his face, which is the whole point of SCP-096. You know how he doesn't like his face to be seen?
But yeah, that's like one of his main plots with his character.
Exactly. Yet the animator, I don't know what happened, but it was either, I think it was the animator, and I also know it was the voice actor who got that mixed up because neither of them mentioned that, and the main character who was narrating the story said she seen his face and was describing it and was still alive, which is why I said that defeats the character. Which is another reason why I say they mixed it up with the rake, because the features it had was similar to the rake. That's something the rake would do. He doesn't really care who sees him. He just likes traumatizing people. A little bit. But still. He's more of a traumatizer. 096 is more of a killer if you just see his face. He just obliterates.
He doesn't really care unless you see his face, honestly.
Right. He mainly be hiding too, so he's not really falling out in the open.
Yeah.
I was able to see what caused the strange reaction. At the foot of the bed, sitting and facing away from us, there was what appeared to be a naked man, or a large hairless dog of some sort. His body position was disturbing and unnatural, as if it had been hit by a car or something. For some reason, I was not instantly frightened by it, but more concerned as to its condition. At this point, I was somewhat under the assumption that we were supposed to help him. My husband was peering over his arm and knee, tucked into the fetal position, occasionally glancing at me before returning to the creature. In a flurry of motion, the creature scrambled around the side of the bed and then quickly crawled in a sort of flailing motion right along the bed until it was less than a foot from my husband's face. The
I remember
creature
that.
was completely silent for about 30 seconds, or probably close to 5. It just seemed like a while, just looking at my husband. The creature then placed his hand on his knee and ran out into the hallway, leading to the kids' room. I screamed and ran for the light switch, planning to stop him before he hurt my children. When I got to the hallway, the light from the bedroom was enough to see it crouching and hunched over about 20 feet away. He turned and looked directly at me, covered in blood. I flipped on the switch on the wall and saw my daughter Clara. The creature ran down the stairs while my husband and I rushed to help our daughter. She was very badly injured and spoke only once more in her short life. She said, "Use the rake." My husband drove his car into a lake that night while rushing our daughter to hospital. They did not survive. Being in a small town, news got around pretty quickly. The police were helpful at first, and the local newspaper took a lot of interest as well. However, the story was never published, and the local television news never followed up either. For several months, my son Justin and I stayed in a hotel near my parents' house. After we decided to return home, I began looking for answers myself. I eventually located a man in the next town over who had a similar story. We got in contact and began talking about our experiences. He knew of 2 other people in New York who had seen the creature we now referred to as the Rake. It took the 4 of us about 2 solid years of hunting on the internet and writing letters to come up with a small collection of what we believed to be accounts of the Rake. None of them gave any details, history, or follow-up. One journal had an entry involving the creature in its first 3 pages, and never mentioned it again. A ship's log explained nothing of the encounter, saying only that they were told to leave by the rake. That was the last entry in the log.
Oop. That's not the end of the story. It's technically 8 minutes and 23 seconds. We're just 6 minutes and 44 seconds in. But yeah, I remember the animation to that. If I knew it was just gonna be that, I would have played it.
I like the story so far.
Same. It's very interesting, to be honest.
It's something you would listen to whenever you're like drawing, or like if you're just laying in bed, you can just imagine it in your head.
That too, but he kind of reminds me of Smile Dog a little bit.
Small though?
Yeah, Smile Dog. He's technically an SCP, but one of the internet ones, to where if you look at the actual image of Smile Dog, he'll visit you in your sleep and you won't stop dreaming about him whenever you go to sleep. He'll just be there smiling at you, and then like he can talk to you. Main thing he says to you is basically to spread the image, and apparently you have to send it to 10 to 14 people by email. And if they look at it, then that's the only way you can get him to stop visiting you in your dreams. Which is really weird. But that's also why you don't hear about people having phones in the SCP Foundation. It's not, the file is apparently known as small.jpg. Something like that. So, yeah. It's weird. That and Small Dog apparently causes people not only to lose sleep, but also for them to commit suicide. I'm not trying to get demonetized. I know you know what I'm saying. Yeah. Because apparently YouTube doesn't let people say that for obvious reasons. So yeah. But yeah, that's basically the story. Ending's basically that she wants to know more about it, technically. Like, there's really no closure to it. And then I like the story Her because it's the weirdest type of story, but yet the ending makes it seem like dude is doing everything just to see the female again, because it's like they like each other, basically. That's the reason why I find it interesting. And then I like the Jeff the Killer story because it's accurate, and because I understand why Jeff did the things he did. Except the insane part. I seen dude explaining Jeff's story on TikTok, and he basically had all the points right, except, like, I'm not gonna say he had it wrong, but he didn't mention key details. Main thing he had wrong was the reasoning why Jeff killed his mom, dad, and brother. He didn't really explain those well. Which, I understand why Jeff killed his mom and dad. I understand why. Because he followed his mom into the room, and she didn't know he was behind her. Because she seen him in the bathroom cutting on his face. Cutting a smile on his face. So, I forgot what she said, but she went into the room, told the dad. She told the dad to get his shotgun. And then Jeff was right there when she turned around. And Jeff told her, he said, "Mom, you lied." That's when he killed them.
Well, then,
Like I said, understand why she told the dad basically to shoot him. So it was a life or death situation in his case. So
yep. Besides the insane part, and that's understandable.
I'ma pause my video. Hold on. There we go. All right, we're back from my short break. All right, so would you like to listen to the Jeff the Killer story?
Yeah.
It's actually really good. Hold on.
Excerpt from local newspaper. Ominous unknown killer still at large. After weeks of killings, the ominous unknown killer is still on the rise. After little evidence has been found, a young boy states that he survived one of the killer's attacks and bravely tells his story. I had a bad dream and woke up in the middle of the night, says the boy. I saw that for some reason, the window was open, even though I remember it being closed before I went to bed. I got up and shut it once more. Afterwards, I simply crawled under my covers and tried to go back to sleep. That's when I had a strange feeling, like someone was watching me. I looked up and nearly jumped out of my bed. There, in the little ray of light illuminating from my curtains, were a pair of two eyes. These weren't regular eyes, they were dark, ominous eyes. They were bordered in black, and just plain out terrified me. That's when I saw his mouth, a long, horrendous smile that made every hair on my body stand up. The figure stood there, watching me. Finally, after what seemed like forever, he said it. A simple phrase, but said it in a way only a madman could speak. Go to sleep. I let out a scream. That's what sent him at me. He pulled out a knife, aimed at my heart, jumped on my bed. I fought him back. I kicked, I punched, I rolled around, trying to knock him off me. That's when my dad burst in with his 12-gauge shotgun. He aimed it at the man. He almost got him. But before he could pull the trigger, the man leapt out to the side. The man threw the knife in a Bowie knife style into my dad's shoulder. He let go of the gun. The man probably would have finished him off if one of the neighbors hadn't alerted the police. They drove into the parking lot and ran towards the door. The man turned and ran down the hallway. I heard a smash, like glass breaking. As I came out of my room, I saw the window that was pointing towards the back of my house was broken. I looked out to see him vanish into the distance. I can tell you one thing. I'll never forget that face. Those cold, evil eyes. That psychotic smile. They'll never leave my head. Police still are on the lookout for this man. If you see anyone that fits the description in the story, please contact your local police department.
That's basically like the first part. The first part is like from the little kid's point of view of like what happened after. No, not after. But yes, after. Dang, I can't speak today. It's basically what happened after the incident with Jeff and his parents. I'm pretty sure he killed his brother. I don't exactly remember. I know it was still sad because Jeff was kind of not only protecting himself, but protecting his brother in the first place, which is why it's kind of strange as to why he would kill his brother. But I don't know. Continue.
Jeff and his family had moved into the new neighborhood. His dad had gotten a promotion at work, and they thought it would be best to live in one of those fancy neighborhoods. Jeff and his brother Lou couldn't complain, though. A new, better house.
what was not to love? As they were getting unpacked, one of their neighbors came by. "Hello," she said. "I'm Barbara. I live across the street from you. Well, I just wanted to introduce myself and to introduce my son." She turned around and called her son over. "Billy, these are our new neighbors." Billy said hi and ran back to play in his yard. "Well," said Jeff's mom, "I'm Margaret. This is my husband Peter, and our two sons Jeff and Lou." They each introduced themselves, and Barbara invited them to her son's birthday. Jeff and his brother were about to object when their mother said that they would love to. Jeff went up to his mom. "Mom, why did you invite us to some kid's party? They haven't noticed. I'm not some dumb kid." "Jeff," says his mom, "we just moved here. We should show that we want to spend time with our neighbors. Now we're going to that party, and that's final." Jeff started to talk but stopped himself, knowing that he can't do anything. Whenever his mom says something, it's final. He walks up to his room and plops down in his bed. He sits there looking at the ceiling when suddenly he gets a weird feeling. Not so much a pain, but a weird feeling. He dismisses it as if some random feeling. He hears his mom calling him down to get his stuff, and he walks down to get it.
See, that's exactly what I'm talking about. That feeling is literally what my OC Nihilist gets in Warriors Cats. I have him describe it as a surge, though. That's basically what I call a surge. Like that instinctive feeling to kill, fight, kill, whatever.
Yeah.
It'll be better explained later in the story, of course, in more detail. But that's exactly what I was talking about. Anyway.
The next day, Jeff walked down the stairs to get breakfast and get ready for school. As he sat there, eating his breakfast, he once again got that feeling. This time it was stronger. Gave him a slight tugging pain, but he once again dismissed it. As he and Lou finished breakfast, they walked down to the bus stop. They sat there waiting for the bus, and then, all of a sudden, some kid on a skateboard jumps over them, only inches above their laps. They both jump back in surprise. "Hey, what the hell, kid?" The kid landed and turned back to them. He kicked his skateboard up and caught it with his hand. He wears an Aeropostale shirt and ripped blue jeans. Well, looks like we got some new meat." Suddenly 2 other kids appeared. One is super skinny and the other is huge. "Well, since you're new here, I'd like to introduce ourselves. Over there's Keith." Jeff and Lou look at the skinny kid. He has a dopey face that you would expect a sidekick to have. And he's Troy. They look over at the fat kid. Talk about a tub of lard. This kid looks like he hadn't exercised since he was crawling. "And I," says the kid, "am Randy. Now, for all the kids in this neighborhood, there's a small price of bus fare, if you catch my drift." Lou stands up, ready to punch the light out of the kid's eyes, when his 2 friends pull a knife up at him. "I had hoped you'd be more cooperative, but it seems we must do things the hard way." The kid walks up to Lou and takes his wallet out of his pocket. Jeff gets that feeling again. Now it's truly strong, a burning sensation. He stands up, but Lou gestures him to sit down. Jeff ignores it and walks up to the kid. "Listen here, you little punk. Give back my bro's wallet or else." Randy puts the wallet in his pocket and pulls a knife. "Oh? And what you gonna do?" Just as he finishes his sentence, Jeff pops the kid in the nose. Kid reaches for his face. Jeff grabs the kid's wrist and breaks it. Randy screams and Jeff grabs the knife from his hand. Troy and Keith rush him, but Jeff's too quick. He throws Randy to the ground. Keith lashes out at him, but Jeff ducks and stabs him in the arm. Keith drops his knife and falls to the ground screaming. Troy rushes him too, but Jeff doesn't even need the knife. He punches Troy straight in the stomach. He goes down. As he falls, he pukes all over the place. Lou can do nothing but look in amazement at Jeff. "Jeff, how did you..." That's all he says. They see the bus coming and know they'd be blamed for the whole thing, so they start running as fast as they can. As they run, they look back and see the bus driver rushing over to Randy and them. As Jeff and Lou make it to school, they don't dare tell what happens. All they do is sit and listen. Lou just thought of that as his brother beating up a few kids, but Jeff knew it was more. It was something scary. As he got that feeling, he felt how powerful it was, the urge to just hurt someone. He didn't like how it sounded, but he couldn't help but feel happy. He felt that strange feeling go away and stay away for the entire day of school, even as he walked home due to the whole thing near the bus stop. And how now he probably wouldn't be taking the bus anymore. He felt happy. When he got home, his parents asked him how his day was. He says, in a somewhat ominous voice, "It was a wonderful day." Next morning, he heard a knock at the front door. He walks down to find 2 police officers at the door, his mother looking back at him with an angry look. "Jeff, these officers tell me that you attacked 3 kids, that it wasn't a regular fight, and that they were stabbed? Stabbed, son." Jeff's gaze.
See, this is the part where I wish Jeff explained the whole story. There should have been cameras in this day and time, because as you heard, Randy and his squad were the ones who held the knives at them.
Exactly. So he was
Minors or not, Jeff technically defended himself because they took something that didn't belong to them, and so he got it back.
Not only that, they threatened him with knives. So
Exactly.
Why was he the one getting in trouble if they had the knives in the first place?
Exactly. And from the sounds of it, sounds like him and Luke are in high school.
High school or like late middle school?
Sounds like high school because, because middle schoolers, they can't break people's wrists like that. That's definitely a high schooler thing. It's for someone to just grab someone's wrist and break it. That's a literal high schooler thing. He just broke his wrist like it was nothing. You gotta be in high school to do that. And the way that Randy sounded like he was middle school. Like late middle school. Basically, like, imagine sophomore or junior to an 8th grader. That's kind of what that's the vibe I'm getting from the story.
Yeah, I know that, but like, what I feel like is that whenever I said that was in middle school, I feel like Jeff will be in high school, yeah, but like everyone else in middle school.
Yeah.
So that's why I think they had that knives in the first place.
Yeah, because Luke kind of he was cool with it. Jeff was like, "No, we're getting that wallet back."
He was like, "Hell no, you ain't gonna take my brother's wallet."
Right, he's like, "That has his social security card and everything."
Fell to the floor, showing his mother that it was true. "Mom, they were the ones who pulled the knives on me and Lou." "Son," says one of the cops, "we found 3 kids, 2 stabbed, 1 having a bruise on his stomach, and we have witnesses proving that you fled the scene. Now what does that tell us?" Jeff knew it was no use. He could say him and Lou had been attacked, but there was no proof it was not them who attacked first. They couldn't say that they weren't fleeing because, truth be told, they were. So, Jeff couldn't defend himself or Lou. "Son, call down your brother." Jeff couldn't do it, since it was him who beat up all 3 of the kids. "Sir, it was me. I was the one who beat up those kids. Lou tried to hold me back, but he couldn't stop me." The cop looked at his partner. They both nodded. "Well, kid looks like a year in juvie." "Wait," says Lou. We all looked up to see him holding a knife. The officers pulled their guns and locked them on Lou. "It was me. I beat up those little punks. I have the marks to prove it." He lifted up his sleeve to reveal cuts and bruises, as if he were in a struggle. "Son, just put down the knife," said the officer. Lou held up the knife and dropped it on the ground, put his hands up and walked over to the cops. "No, Lou, it was me. I did it." Jeff had tears running down his face. "Huh, poor bro, trying to take the blame for what I did. Well, take me away." The police led Lou out to the patrol car. "Lou, tell them it was me. Tell them I was the one who beat up those kids." Lou's mother put her hand on Jeff's shoulder. "Jeff, please, you don't have to lie. We know it's Lou. You can stop." Jeff watched.
I'm sorry. I'm gonna be one of those peeps that hates Jeff's mom.
This is stupid.
It really is. And like,
I
she doesn't even,
back, bro.
like, I understand that they just moved into a new neighborhood, but at least still keep an eye on your kids while they're at the bus stop. Yeah, Jeff, he seems pretty old enough, right? But still, just in case. You still gotta do that. I don't understand what her issue is. And then she says it was obviously Luke. Just due to the evidence Luke created. Luke didn't even have any wounds. He created that evidence. He was smart for that. I would say Luke isn't dumb. He's not dumb. He was like,
He's not done, but like,
right? Luke was like, "Oh look, brother, trying to take blame for what I did. Take me away." It's priceless.
Helplessly as the cop's car sped off with Lou inside. A few minutes later, Jeff's dad pulls into the driveway, seeing Jeff's face and knowing something's wrong. "Son, but what is it?" Jeff can't answer. His vocal cords are strained from crying. Instead, Jeff's mother walks his father.
I'm being special.
I'm streaming.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry.
Inside to break the bad news to him. As Jeff weeps in the driveway, after an hour or so, Jeff walks back into the house, seeing his parents were both shocked, sad, and disappointed. He can't look at them. He can't see how they think of Lou when it was his fault. He just...
I can't see that either. Like, right? I mean, so far from the intel, both Luke and Jeff are like really mature. Especially Luke. Luke was the one who was like, "Nah, just let it happen. He's like, I can just get all that stuff back anyway." You know, he has that sort of attitude.
goes to sleep, trying to get the whole thing off his mind. 2 days go by, with no word from Lou at JDC. No friends to hang out with. Nothing but sadness and guilt. That is until Saturday, when Jeff is woke up by his mother with a happy, sunny face. "Jeff, it's the day," she says as she opens the curtains and lets light flood into Jeff's room. What's today?" says Jeff as he stirs awake. "Why, it's Billy's party." Jeff is not fully awake. "Mom, you're joking, right? You don't expect me to go to some kid's party after..." There was a long pause. "Jeff, we both know what happened.
No,
I
you
think this party
don't.
could be the thing that...
No, you don't. Don't you hate when parents do that and they don't know anything of what happened? Otherwise, they would have... If she knew exactly what happened, Luke wouldn't have been in that predicament. You know what I'm saying, in the first place.
It's the fact that they released a bunch of random policemen that came to their house.
Exactly.
And also, like, they say when saw them running away. How do you know that it was not running away from the person who did that? It was like from a different. Like, say
Right?
for example, a person beat up
I'm.
those kids. What?
Wait, I think I know what happened. I think I know what happened.
What?
Witnesses. Remember Randy said that they kind of owned the block? If there were witnesses that seen them running, who's to say that Randy didn't threaten the witnesses not to tell the cops, to not tell the cops what actually happened?
Yeah, exactly. Bro, it's freaking stupid, bro.
That could have been what happened. It is a possibility because damn, what happened?
Well, that's just stupid.
Don't tell me you have to play that whole entire story over. Oops, I forgot. We were at like 8 minutes.
Was something scary.
Oh no, we weren't. We were like in the middle.
Mother in a dress, his father in a suit. He thinks his face and knowing something's wrong. Son,
Hold on.
see how they
When you
think.
try to get to the spot.
After an hour or so, Jeff walks back into the house, seeing his parents were both shocked, sad, and
Whoa, wait a minute.
disappointed. What's today?
There we go.
Says Jeff as he stirs awake. Why, it's Billy's party. Jeff is not fully awake. Mom, you're joking, right? You don't expect me to go to some kid's party after... There was a long pause. Jeff, we both know what happened. I think this party could be the thing that brightens up the past few days. Now, get dressed. Jeff's mother walks out of the room and down to get herself ready. Jeff fights himself to get up. He picks up a random shirt, pair of jeans, walks down the stairs. He sees his mother and father all dressed up. His mother in a dress, his father in a suit. He thinks why they would ever wear such fancy clothes to go to a kid's party.
Thank you. Another thing. It's a kid's birthday party, but it's literally at their house. You don't have to wear anything fancy. You could just put on casual clothes. Unless of course, she said her name was Barbara. Unless Barbara has a certain theme for that birthday party.
Hold on real quick. I just imagine, like, for the mother, it's kind of understandable because usually it's like little pretty sundresses you take to barbecues and stuff like that. But for the dad, why are you wearing a whole suit? You better get in some dad uniform. Like, bro, you need to put on a flannel or something.
I don't know.
Son? Is that all you're gonna wear? Says Jeff's mother. Better than wearing too much, he says. His mother pushes down the feelings to yell at him and hides it with a smile. Jeff, we may be overdressed, but this is how you go if you want to make an impression, says his father. Jeff grunts and goes back up to his room. I don't have any fancy clothes, he yells down the stairs. Just pick something, says his mother. He looks around his closet for what he would call fancy, and he finds a pair of black dress pants he had for special occasions and an undershirt. He can't find a shirt to go with it, though. He looks around and finds only striped and patterned shirts, none of which go with dress pants. Finally, he finds a white hoodie. It's lying on a chair and puts it on. He walks downstairs to find his parents are all ready. You're wearing that? They both say. His mother looks at her watch. Oh, no time to change. Let's just go, she says as she herds Jeff and his father out the door.
I mean, see, that's kind of why, like, my grandma would check my wardrobe at times for, like, times like these. See, the parenting in this story is trash.
It's disgusting. It's ass.
Yeah, it's literally trash. And it gets only worse in the story. Like, yeah, they moved into a nice house and everything, but and they got nice kids too.
I'll definitely.
Jeff was a cool kid before he went through mental his mental stuff. But yeah, pretty much everything was fine except the parenting.
It's horrible
It gets worse because I'm gonna just go ahead and spoil a bit for you. At the birthday party, the same kids he beat up are there.
Well, yeah, I imagine that.
Ooh,
Bless you.
thank you.
But I imagine the kids would be there because obviously story fly.
Ooh.
And this is horrible parenting because when you let your son go into juvie without, like, not even trying to like.
She didn't even try to like reason with the cops on what could have happened.
Yeah, no, they was just like, no, we don't want this anymore. And not only that, you're gonna take the other kid to a birthday party that could possibly interact with those kids again.
That too. I guess she feels like since her and the dad stare that nothing's gonna happen. Like, she's very naive about the situation. And then the dad, like, since he had to work at the time that situation happened, he doesn't, you know, there's nothing he could really do about it. He got there after the cops left. So
Cross the street over to Barbara and Billy's house. They knock on the door, and it appears Barbara, just like my parents, way overdressed. As they walk inside, all we see is adults. No kids. The kids are out in the yard. Jeff, how about you go out and meet some of the kids? Says Barbara. Jeff walks outside to the yard full of kids, and they're running around in weird cowboy costumes and shooting each other with plastic guns. He might as well be standing in a Toys R Us. Suddenly, a kid comes up to him and hands him a toy gun and a hat. Hey, mister, you wanna play? He says. No, kid. I'm way too old for this stuff. The kid looks at him with that weird puppy dog face. Please? Says the kid. Fine, says Jeff. He puts on the hat and starts to pretend shoot at the kids. At first he thinks it's totally ridiculous. And then he starts to actually have fun. But it's the first time he's done something that takes his mind off of Lou. So he plays with the kids for a while, until he hears a noise. It's a weird, rolling noise. Then it hits him. Just as it does, Randy, Troy, and Keith all jump over the fence on their skateboards. Jeff drops the fake gun and rips off the hat. Randy looks at Jeff with burning hatred. Hello? Jeff, is it? We have some unfinished business. Jeff sees the bruised nose on his face. I think we're even. I beat the shit out of you and you got my brother sent to JDC. Oh no, I don't go for even. I go for winning. You may have kicked our asses that one day, but not today. As he said that, Randy rushes Jeff. They both fall to the ground. Randy punches Jeff in the nose, and Jeff grabs him by the ears and headbutts him. Jeff pushes Randy off of him, and both rise to their feet. Kids were screaming, parents were running out of the house. Troy and Keith both pull guns out of their pockets. No one interrupts or guts will fly, they say. Randy...
At this point, I'm starting to think that they're actually in high school as well. For them to not only have knives, but also guns. That and like,
Okay,
let's be
this
no, let's be honest. That's not how middle schoolers fight. Middle schoolers don't headbutt. They don't headbutt.
bruh,
This is actual like high school fighting. That and middle schoolers don't really skateboard. At least not. Skateboarding's more of a teenage adult thing. Little kids do it too, but like the way they're doing it, it sounds like they're high schoolers because they have more experience. They jumped over the fence into the birthday party. without any injury or, them falling off or nothing.
Pulls a knife on Jeff and stabs him in the shoulder. Jeff screams and falls on his knees. Randy starts kicking him in the face. After 3 kicks, though, Jeff grabs his foot and twists it, causing Randy to fall to the ground. Jeff stands up, walks towards the back door. Troy grabs him, though. Need some help? He picks Jeff up by the back of his collar and throws him through the patio door. As Jeff tries to stand, he is kicked down to the ground. Randy repeatedly starts kicking Jeff until he starts to cough up blood. Come on, Jeff, fight me!
Here's my question. See, this is the part with the bad parenting. Because at this point, IRL, parents would already be getting them off of the... Where's the mom and dad? Where's the actual... This stuff is happening to their son, and they're at the party. They're at the party, and they're not doing anything. I will understand. I understand if it's like a school fight or something, and because you can't really do nothing in a school fight because you're at home, school, 2 different places. You can't. But this is a place where you're at.
He picks Jeff up and throws him into the kitchen. Randy sees a bottle of vodka on the counter and smashes the glass over Jeff's head. Fight! He throws Jeff back into the living room. Come on, Jeff! Look at me! Jeff glances up, his face riddled with blood. I was the one who got your brother sent to JDC, and now you're just gonna sit there and let him rot in there for a whole year? You should be ashamed. Jeff stands up. Oh, finally you stand and fight. Jeff is now on his feet, blood and vodka on his face. Once again he gets that strange feeling, the one in which he hasn't felt for a while. Finally he's up, says Randy as he runs at Jeff. That's when it happens. Something inside Jeff snaps. His psyche is destroyed. All rational thinking is gone. All he can do is kill. He grabs Randy and pile drives him into the ground. He gets on top of him and punches him straight in the heart. The punch causes Randy's heart to stop. Randy's gasping for breath. Jeff hammers down on him, punch after punch. Blood gushes from Randy's body until he takes one final breath and dies. Everyone's looking at Jeff now. The parents, the crying kids, even Troy and Keith. Although they easily break from their gaze and point their guns at Jeff. Jeff sees the guns trained on him and runs for the scene. He runs, Troy and Keith let out fire on him, each shot missing. Jeff runs up the stairs as Troy and Keith follow up from behind. As they let out their final round of bullets, Jeff ducks into the bathroom. He grabs the towel rack and rips it off the wall. Troy and Keith race up, knives ready. Troy swings his knife at Jeff, who backs away, and bangs the towel rack against Troy's face. Troy goes down hard, and now all that's left is Keith. He's more agile than Troy, though, and ducks when Jeff swings the towel rack. He drops the knife, grabs Jeff by the neck. He pushes him against the wall. A thing of bleach falls down on top of us from the top shelf. It burnt both of them. They both started to scream. Jeff wiped his eyes as best he could. He pulled back the towel rack, swung it straight into Keith's head. As he lay there, bleeding to death, he lets out an ominous smile. What's so funny? Asks Jeff. Keith pulled out a lighter and switches it on. It's funny, he says, is that you're covered in bleach and alcohol. Jeff's eyes widen as Keith throws the lighter at him. As soon as the flame made contact with him,
Where were the parents? They just staring at the scene?
That's, like, here, let me say something real quick. That is stupid. This is all stupid. This could have been prevented in the first freaking place. Did you hear the audio? He was thrown into the patio. How come the parents weren't there? Like, I know dang well the parents were not, like, just didn't see it.
No. My thing is, like, this must have happened a long time ago because, in the 1900s, 80s, whatever, parents would just stand there and watch their kids, get beat up and stuff, which is weird. But like that stopped in, I want to say that stopped in the late 1990s to early 2000s. But hey,
It still doesn't piss me off though.
right?
Flames ignite the alcohol
Oop, oop. Continue. I'm sorry.
Oh no, that's okay. I was just saying, just because boy, that's it.
Yeah.
in the vodka. While the alcohol burned him, the bleach bleached his skin. Jeff let out a terrible screech as he caught on fire. He tried to roll out the fire, but it was no use. The alcohol made him a walking inferno. He ran down the hall, fell down the stairs. Everyone started screaming as they saw Jeff, now a man on fire, drop to the ground nearly dead. The last thing Jeff saw was his mother and other parents trying to extinguish the flame. And that's when he passed out. When Jeff woke up, he had a cast wrapped around his face. He couldn't see anything. He felt the cast on his shoulders, stitches all over his body. He tried to stand up, but he realized that there was some tube in his arm. When he tried to get up, it fell out. The nurse rushed in. "I don't think you can get out of bed just yet," she said as she put him back into the bed and reinserted the tube. Jeff sat there with no vision, no idea of what his surroundings were. Finally, after hours, he heard his mother. "Honey, are you okay?" she asked. Jeff couldn't answer, though. His face was covered. He was unable to speak. "Oh, honey, I have great news. After the witnesses told the police that Randy confessed of trying to attack you, they decided to let Lou go." That made Jeff almost bolt up, stopping halfway, remembering the tube coming out of his arm. "He'll be out by tomorrow. Then you two will be able to be together again." Jeff's mother hugged Jeff, says her goodbyes.
See, this is exactly what I'm talking about. Didn't I say one of the witnesses probably seen everything that happened?
Like, bro, this is so dumb.
The next couple of weeks were those where Jeff was visited by his family. Then came the day where his bandages were to be removed. His family were all there to see what he would look like. As the doctors unwrapped the bandages from Jeff's face, everyone was on the edge of their seats. They waited until the last bandage holding the cover over his face was almost removed. "Well, let's hope for the best," said the doctor. He quickly pulled the cloth, letting the rest fall from Jeff's face. Jeff's mother screamed at the sight of his face. Lou and Jeff's dad stare, awestruck at his face. "What? What happened to my face?" Jeff said. He rushed out of bed and ran to the bathroom. He looked in the mirror and saw the cause of distress. His face was... It's horrible. His lips were burnt to a deep shade of red. His face was turned into a pure white color. His hair singed from brown to black. He slowly put his hands to his face. It had a sort of leathery feel to it now.
I mean, let's be honest, my guy. Randy hit you with a bottle of vodka, which sparked the fire. Not to mention, bleach fell on you, and I think it was Tori? I forgot their name. Oop.
It was Troy and Keith.
Yeah, them. I forgot their names, but still, bleach fell on him and Tori? Either Tori or Keith, and they started screaming together. So, then he got set on fire. Still, I don't see... Did you see how they countered what they said earlier in the story, though? It's accurate, but they said that they got Randy to confess to attacking them when Randy's dead. But I think they meant Randy's, like, group, friends, that sort of stuff.
I think they meant Randy's friends. I was about to say, Randy's dead.
Right? I think that's what they meant. Minor mistake, but still. Continue.
He looked back at his family, then back at the mirror. Jeff, said Lou, it's not so bad. Not bad, said Jeff. It's perfect. His family were equally surprised. Jeff started laughing uncontrollably. His parents noticed that his left eye and hand were twitching. Jeff, are you okay? Okay? I've never felt more happy. Look at me. His face goes perfectly with me. He couldn't stop laughing. He stroked his face, feeling it, looking at it in the mirror. What caused this? You may recall that when Jeff was fighting Randy, something in his mind, some sanity snapped. Now he was left as a crazy killing machine. That is, his parents didn't know. Doctor, said Jeff's mom, is my son all right, in the head? Oh, yes, this is typical behavior for a patient that's had a very large amount of painkillers. If his behavior doesn't change in a few weeks, bring him back here, and we'll give him some psychological testing. Oh, thank you, doctor. Jeff's mother went over to Jeff. Jeff, sweetie, it's time to go. Jeff looks away from the mirror.
Baby, you playing Roblox right now?
No, I'm streaming.
You should put a sign on the door saying, you streaming.
Could, but I don't have one. Eeh. Anyways, alright.
His face still formed into a crazy smile. Okay, Mom. Jeff's mom took him by the shoulder and took him to get his clothes. This is what he came in, says the lady at the desk. Jeff's mom looked down to see the black dress pants and white hoodie her son wore. Now they were clean of blood and now stitched together. Jeff's mother led him to his room and made him put his clothes on. And then they left, not knowing that this was their final day of life. That night, Jeff's mother woke to a sound coming from their bathroom. It sounded as if someone was crying. She slowly walked over to see what it was. When she looked into the bathroom, she saw a horrendous sight. Jeff had taken a knife and carved a smile into his cheeks. Jeff, what are you doing? Asked his mother. Jeff looked over to his mother. I couldn't help but... I couldn't help... I couldn't keep smiling, Mommy. It hurt after a while. Now I can smile forever. Jeff's mother noticed his eyes, ringed in black. Jeff, your eyes! His eyes were bordered by black, seemingly never closing. I couldn't see my face. I got tired and my eyes started to close. I burned out the eyelids so I could forever see myself, my new face. Jeff's mother slowly started to back away, seeing that her son was going insane. What's wrong, Mommy? Aren't I beautiful? Yes, son, she said. Yes, you are. Let me go get Daddy so he can see your face. She ran into the room and shook Jeff's dad awake from his sleep. Honey, get the gun, wait. She stopped as she saw Jeff in the doorway holding the knife. Mommy, you lied. The last thing they heard as Jeff rushed them with the knife, gutting both of them. His brother Lou woke up, startled by some noise. He didn't hear anything else, so he just shut his eyes and tried to go back to sleep. As he was on the border of slumber, he got the strangest feeling that someone was watching him. He looked up before Jeff's hand covered his mouth. He slowly raised the knife, ready to plunge it into Lou. Lou threshed here and there, trying to escape Jeff's grip. Shh, I said. Just go to sleep.
Creepy.
Yeah, told you it's a good story.
It's like high. The parent. It's just highly stupid. Like not the story,
Right?
but like the parents.
Right? Like, the parents in general, especially the mom, the dad was pretty chill about stuff.
Also, what I say.
The dad was pretty much just not really. He wasn't really in the situation. He kind of like. I feel like he
He's still
was.
pretty good.
I feel like he was more so confused about the whole situation and decided not to like get involved with it or something. I don't know.
Not only that, but like.
The mom, I'm pretty sure she was confused at what was going on too. She just
But I
seen
feel
them
like
fighting and was kind of like, I think I know why they didn't interfere.
I feel like
Close.
he should. I feel like
They're
he should
close.
have a parent. Huh?
I feel like I know why the parents didn't interfere. You know how they dressed up?
Oh.
I feel like that's the reason, like, you know how if people are like highly dressed, they're not really gonna help out until something drastic happens? That was drastic, but they waited till dude was on fire to do something about it. It's like, oh, so you guys seen them pointing a gun at him, but that I kind of understand because you will kind of stand there if they have guns. That I kind of understand, but that's still your kid.
Yeah, if they're children, you can still get the gun out of their hand. But you gotta
Right,
have backup. You gotta have one person from behind and one person up front. Because
exactly.
that's what they
That and
But
there's no. What about the parents of the minor kids? There were obviously like little elementary school young kids running around. Yeah, that puts
it's
them at
traumatizing.
risk.
Not only that, but it does mentally scar them because they just literally seen
Yeah, they
all
just
that stuff. Like,
witnessed someone get killed. Like, and like they're witnessing a person who they played with also getting injured, beat up, stuff like that. They're confused at what's going on.
not only that, but I feel like the mom. I feel like in this story, Jeff wasn't mentally like he was mentally unstable, but I feel like
He became mentally unstable only due to those kids at the bus stop.
I really feel like
That
the
was
mom
the only
really
reason why. If I feel like she could at least taken them to school on their first day or something. Still, the whole bus stop issue was the reason why Jeff is the way he is now in the creepypasta.
not only that, but I feel like the mom should like went up to Jeff and tried to talk to him instead of like going to the dad and be like, "Go get the shotgun," because like it's still your child in a way. He may seem like crazy, but I feel like he wasn't. I feel like he was like more like
Right? It's like,
borderline.
he didn't even do nothing. It's not like he threatened her.
Yeah,
He
it's just
didn't
like
threaten her. He was mainly threatening himself.
she like mainly borderline depression. You know,
Yeah.
like them kids really affected his mental health.
That too. And doctor did say she could bring him in. She could have like convinced Jeff to go to the doctor, test his mentality. Obviously, he has no mentality left, so I'm not gonna say they should put him in a mental hospital, but
They should at least put him in therapy.
yes, definitely therapy.
Like whole lots of therapy. Like this, yeah, therapy.
Mental therapy. Stuff like that. I'm surprised she didn't do that when she knew Jeff was already upset about the fact that his brother was, you know, yeah, at juvie. She could at least, like, spent more time with him. At least.
Yeah, at least, bro. Like, I'm old now. I think it was just. I think it was just a mix of bullying, bad parent choices, and
Not only that, but just bad
irresponsible.
parenting in general.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the 1980s, 90s for you.
Yeah, no.
So yeah. Just dang. I forgot to put my phone behind me. So we listened to The Rake. We've also listened to Jeff the Killer. You want to listen to The Flesh Market?
I mean, yeah, sure.
Let me see how long I've been recording now. 1 hour and 10 minutes. Okay, so the way I'm gonna do it is we'll probably have that. We'll still do it, but have it be in a different video. Make sense?
Yeah, we can have it like we can like. Do
Yeah, because this one's getting to be way too long.
Plus, it's getting late for me.